How can a husband not protect his own wife? My daughter is being bullied by her mother-in-law, but her husband, who is my son-in-law, doesn't defend her. Moreover, Finley, this is part of her training as a daughter-in-law. If you don't like it, you can take her back home. And so, I took my daughter home with me. I'm Finley, and I'm turning 50 this year. I live with my only daughter, Rosalie. My husband passed away in a car accident when Rosalie was in kindergarten, and I've been raising her on my own since then. To be honest, I think there were times when I've made her feel lonely, and she must have had many difficult days, since I was raising her by myself. Despite all that, my daughter managed to graduate from high school and enroll in university. After graduating from university, she successfully got a job. The company Rosalie works for is a so-called blue-chip company, where the family is running a confectionery store, pharmacy, real estate, and other businesses that are considered well-established in the local area. She told me about her boyfriend a year ago, after working at that company for 3 years. He used to be a sales representative for the company which her company worked with, and he was a polite and reserved young man. I had hoped things would go smoothly for her with him, who kindly watched over my cheerful daughter. "Mom, I'm going to marry Jonathan," she said with a smile, exactly 3 months ago. I was overjoyed that my daughter had finally found happiness, and we celebrated in grand style. I also splurged on both their wedding ceremony and their new home. She was initially excited about her marriage, but as time passed, she seemed to lose her enthusiasm and her voice lacked its usual energy, and she stopped contacting me as often. At first, I thought it might be the typical marriage blues, so I waited for her to reach out. She is an adult, and it would be strange for me to meddle, I thought, and patiently waited, trusting her, but that was a mistake. "Hey, Rosalie looks really worn out. I don't think it's just marriage blues. Is she okay?" It was my friend Alani, who lived near Rosalie's house, who pointed it out. "Huh? What do you mean?" I asked. "Well, her complexion is terrible. I asked her if she was pregnant, but she said that she wasn't. She looked incredibly sad. Haven't you heard anything?" Alani's tone was a bit accusatory, as if she was blaming me for not knowing anything about it. "I haven't heard from her at all lately. She rarely answers her phone," I replied. "Try reaching out to her again." Urged by Alani's firm tone, I called Rosalie once more. "Hello, Rosalie? It's Mom. I was wondering how you're doing." Rosalie picked up the phone but remained silent. "Rosalie, are you there? Are you okay?" "Mom, She was sobbing over the phone. "Rosalie, are you okay?" "Mom, I'm not okay." Hearing her say that she's not okay, I regretted not going to her all this time. I have been too busy with work, and I've made her feel lonely many times. But she concerned about me, and always behaved cheerfully. Now, my daughter, who has been like this, is crying and saying she is not okay. I tried to keep my emotions in check, and hurriedly made my way to Rosalie. "Rosalie, I'm here." "Mom, I. Rosalie, my daughter, whom I had not seen for just a few months, had become completely emaciated and battered. "What on earth happened?" I embraced her and gently patted her back. Rosalie, seeming completely relieved, slowly began to speak, choking back tears. Jonathan's father and mother, bully me. They say I come from a single-parent household, and I'm uncouth, so they say that they are disciplining me." As Rosalie spoke, I saw her hands. Her fingers used to be so beautiful, but now they are all red and chapped. "Your hands look so painful. Poor thing. They even tell me to wash dishes with water, instead of using hot water because it's a waste, and even though it's the middle of winter, they make me wash clothes by hand, before putting them into the washing machine." "What? Apparently, her mother-in-law is ordering Rosalie to pre-wash clothes by hands. And on top of that, I have to clean the floor with a cloth, on my knees and hands every morning from early dawn. In this day and age, it's not like they're in training at a temple or anything. I fumed, and Rosalie, tears streaming down her face, said, "What's even more painful is, when they speak ill of you, Mom." With my blood boiling, I yelled at Jonathan's parents. "What on earth are you doing to my daughter?" When I yelled loudly, Jonathan's parents came out of the living room with a contemptuous look. "What's going on here? What are you causing a ruckus for in someone else's house?" They glanced at us disdainfully, wearing an expression of exasperation. "You are bullying my daughter, under the guise of discipline," I firmly stated. "This is exactly why I can't deal with women raised in single-parent households. She has no common sense, so we're just trying to discipline her." "Oh my God. Your attitude is unacceptable." They began to ridicule us. "What is this about?" Jonathan came out when he heard us talking. "Oh, Jonathan, your wife is a failure. That's why we're trying to discipline her, but her mother doesn't understand, and is making baseless accusations," said Jonathan's mother, as if she were tattling on us. I confronted Jonathan. "You're my daughter's husband. Don't just stand there and help her." I think you are misunderstanding. Rosalie is not a good wife. That's why my parents are just training her, so that she can become someone they won't be embarrassed to introduce as their daughter-in-law anywhere," Jonathan replied arrogantly, defending his parents. "You're a failure as a husband for not protecting your own wife, and joining in on the bullying. Stop bullshitting me." I was furious and grabbed Jonathan. Then, he said, "I can't believe that you would take advantage of my parents' kindness and make this kind of accusation. Since we took in your daughter who is from a single-parent household, you should be grateful. If you have a problem, just take her back with you." With those words, he shook off my hands. At that moment, I lost my balance and fell in the foyer. "Mom, are you okay?" Rosalie rushed to my side. "I'm fine. Rosalie, you don't need to stay here any longer. Get a divorce," I urged Rosalie. "Okay." Rosalie weakly nodded. As we were about to get out of the house, Jonathan's parents looked at us and grinned. "The place you're going back to is probably some rundown apartment. If you ever want to come back, you're welcome," they said. "That's right. But in exchange, you'll need to apologize and beg for forgiveness if you want to enter our house." His parents mocked us one after the other. I turned around and responded without hesitation. "You have no clue, don't you? This house doesn't belong to you. Don't misunderstand." "What are you talking about? This house is the inheritance Rosalie received from her grandfather, right? What belongs to my wife belongs to me since I'm her husband," Jonathan insisted, refusing to listen to our side of the story. "Actually, inherited assets don't become the property of the spouse. It's established by law," I said, taking out a piece of paper from my bag and showing it to Jonathan and his parents. It was a copy of the registration certificate for the property, where Rosalie, her husband, and his parents currently reside. The document confirmed that the owner of both the land and the house was me. I am the one who inherited this house, after Rosalie's grandfather, my father, who used to own this house, passed away. Rosalie actually didn't inherit it. Besides, I've been paying the property taxes every year," I explained. Jonathan and his parents still couldn't grasp the situation, and looked baffled. I explained matter-of-factly that I had given her the right to live in the house which she doesn't have to pay tax or the rent for, as a wedding gift. "We haven't heard anything like that. What's going on, Jonathan? I don't know. She is probably just bluffing, Jonathan replied. Neither he nor his parents believed what I was saying. Listen, I've already you, but you have no right to live here. If you understand, leave. I declared. That's none of our business. We're not going to leave. You're the one who has to leave. He insisted, refusing to budge. Fine then. I'll take legal actions, so be prepared. I told them. With that, I left the house with Rosalie. When we walked out the front door, neighbors who had heard our loud voices gathered and were whispering to each other. Among them was my friend Alani. Are you okay? I'm sorry. We caused a scene. Alani looked concerned. I'll explain everything later, I said, holding Rosalie close, and we left the house. After that, Jonathan and his family tried to continue living in the house, but all the interactions at the front door that day had been overheard by the neighbors. Apparently, the neighbors had already found it odd that Rosalie had been looking increasingly worn out after she got married. Jonathan and his family had made fun of my daughter, who was the beloved granddaughter of my father. They had bullied her and kicked her out of the house, and they even tried to take over the house I own. The neighbor found out all of this. Jonathan and his family were hated as a family of assholes, and were ostracized by the neighbors. Since they lived in a countryside, word spread quickly. It didn't take long for me to hear the news about Jonathan and his family from Alani. Their bad reputation spread quickly, and they were ignored by people, and when they tried to put their garbage out, people said, "Please don't dispose of trash here if you are not residents." So they were unable to throw away their trash. Apparently, they ran away in the middle of the night recently. Alani told me with a laugh. It hasn't even been a month since Rosalie moved out, but I received a barrage of calls from Rosalie's husband, Jonathan, on my phone. Because of you guys, we're being harassed and had to move. Apologize right now, he demanded. I have no idea what you're talking about, I replied, dismissing him. After you apologize to us, go and clear up the misunderstanding in the neighborhood. Then we might forgive you, he said. He still seems to think that they were not at fault. I was exasperated and hung up on him. A week has passed since the phone call. Jonathan and his family must have found out my address somehow, and they suddenly showed up at my place. They arrived at my place, but they were standing there in shock. I live in one of the luxurious condominiums in the city. Actually, my late husband had owned a company, and after his passing, I took over the company and became a president. I had worked tirelessly for Rosalie's sake, and as a result, the company had grown significantly. Now, we are earning enough income to live in a high-end condominium. When Jonathan and his family came to the front of the condominium and learned that I lived there, they quickly changed their attitude. We're really sorry. We had no idea you lived in such a splendid place, Jonathan said with an awkward smile as he offered his apology. Yes. You should have told us. We had no idea that you live in such a splendid place. If only we had known sooner, we could have cultivated a better relationship, Jonathan's mother chimed in, nodding obsequiously. Now that you know I live here, you are apologizing? I retorted with deliberate sarcasm. Oh no. It's not like that. You see, it all started when Jonathan and Rosalie got married. We decided to live together, and at that time, we sold our house, his mother continued without paying much heed to my tone. That's right. I thought it would be nice to have my parents live in a good house, so I suggested that we live together. Jonathan added. Since our son proposed it, we sold our house. However, due to recent circumstances, we lost our home. So now, we're all squeezed into a run-down apartment his mother explained, shedding crocodile tears to plead their case. "Mom, please don't cry. So, please, can you help us somehow? You can either give us some money every month, or rent a room in this condominium for us." Jonathan shamelessly asked me for assistance. I put on a smile and said, "Do you remember what you did to my daughter? Even if you've forgotten, I will never forget. You may leave now." "What did you just say? Are you abandoning me and my family?" Rosalie, who had been observing the whole ordeal, immediately called the police. The police arrived promptly and, when they saw Jonathan and his family, they swiftly escorted them away. In fact, after Rosalie got divorced, I had consulted the police several times and told them that my daughter's ex-husband had been stalking and harassing us, hoping for a reconciliation. Even after this incident, Jonathan and his family attempted to visit the condominium on several occasions, and the concierge took care of them. Since then, Jonathan and his family have been living in a cheap 2-bedroom rundown apartment, struggling to make ends meet. They used the money they got from selling their house to buy new furniture and other things when they moved out, and they only have little money left. Yet, his parents, used to a luxurious lifestyle, couldn't lower their standard of living, and they've been spending money recklessly. Jonathan has been exploited by his parents and has become completely worn out. Since Jonathan was a salesperson working with Rosalie's company, the reason behind the divorce became known to people at Rosalie's workplace through her. Because of that, he was banned from her company and was removed from the career track, since he had lost a major client. Perhaps realizing the gravity of their situation, his parents also started searching for jobs. However, due to factors like their age, abilities, and the neighborhood's gossip, they struggled to find jobs. The job they finally found did not bring in much income, and they continued to struggle to make ends meet. I didn't want to leave my father's house vacant, so I decided to open it to public as a community center for the neighborhood. Occasionally, I go to the house and make sure that Jonathan and his family don't come by. Rosalie said, "I'm already an adult, and I thought I should handle my husband's issues on my own. I didn't want to worry you, Mom." To which I replied, "Asking for help is not something to be ashamed of. If you don't speak up sooner, you'll only prolong your suffering. From now on, don't hesitate to tell me." After her divorce, Rosalie continued to live in my condo, and she is still working for the same company she has worked for since before she got married. Although she was initially feeling down when she returned home, she has since regained her spirits and helps out with household chores. We are planning to live together peacefully for a while.